Hey guys, it's your best fight friends. I'm Kelsey. That's Rachel.
Today, I want to talk about Claressa Shields.
Claressa!
Very well known Olympic gold medalist boxer.
Two-time gold medalist.
Made her way up through professional, the pros and the women's. She ran out of, what is she supposed to do? I feel like she's done it.
She's already like the undisputed champ in one weight class. She's won titles in 3 different weight classes. Basically, there's just not enough other fighters probably in her weight class or any of her weight classes to keep her busy, at least, and keep her paid. And honestly, though, Claressa has been talking about moving over to MMA for over a year now. I know that I've followed the storyline as it's happened. And now she's making that big move. She had already posted like a few months back photos and videos of herself like learning how to kick and stuff. So It's not something that she's taken lightly or just decided on a whim.
And we didn't say Claressa Shields signed with the PFL?
Professional Fighters League, which is... there's a lot of money behind that league. Like everybody, of course, knows the UFC, the bell cow of MMA, but there's a huge amount of money. People like Kevin Hart, famous people behind the PFL, right? A lot of investors. And they have that deal with ESPN to be on ESPN. This is only going to bring Claressa's name even more light, like she's going to be exposed to a whole nother kind of audience. A bigger audience is only going to make her more famous. And with that comes more money, right? For whatever fight she has in boxing or MMA. So I'm really excited about this for Claressa.
And people might remember Holly Holm was a female boxer who left boxing.
People
and
might remember
went
if you're old, like Kelsey, right? Like I remember Holly Holm as a boxer.
Right.
But a lot of people wouldn't know that Holly Holm was a world champion.
They think of her as an
professional
MMA fighter.
Boxer. Yeah. Right. Who was like Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year for the women. Okay, left boxing, went over to the MMA. She obviously didn't start in the UFC, but she went over to MMA. And she never came back, right? Holly never came back. She learned that she loved MMA. Yeah. She liked the MMA culture better. And she stayed. And she's not even interested. I talked to her for heavy this year. And she's not ever really interested in, like, I don't even want, like, a super fight against one of the current boxers today. I'm happy with what I do. And that's awesome. Now, there's a danger, of course, that Claressa could find out the same thing, and boxing could lose one of its
for boxing and boxing
biggest
fans.
stars. Yeah, the dangers for boxing. It could use one of its biggest stars, and somebody that was, obviously she's the only 2-time. She was part of that first Olympic team in the Olympics. For women's boxing. She won a gold medal there. She came back 4 years later, won another gold medal. That's a hard thing to do, to win 2 gold medals. She's a 3-weight world champion, undisputed champion at middleweight.
Well, she's also part of I want to say a class in women's boxing that is giving us quality boxing in the ring. So we have Claressa Shields, we have Katie Taylor, we have Cecilia Brækhus, we have even like Pursoon, we have,
Well, you see all these, Matchroom boxing has a lot of these younger women had the benefit of having boxing in the Olympics, of which Claressa was a part of the
which is giving us
gives it a deeper, better amateur system, and the quality of fighter because of that comes out of those things is a lot better than just your people that didn't have those opportunities. So she's part of that first big amazing wave.
And I'm glad that you pointed that out about the women's boxing being added to the Olympics and what that did for women's boxing as a whole, because it makes me feel better that I don't have to hang all my hopes and dreams on Claressa Shields and Katie Taylor. That instead, if we ever have an Olympics again, as we have more and more Olympics and the amateur class grows, we're going to get more and more women. And the thing is I don't think Claressa can continue to wait around on boxing. When it comes to boxing...
No, she's got to make money. She's got to make it now.
I hear things like talking about Layla Ali. I get that might make money because her and Layla are both big names in the sport, but that's not a real fight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm all for it. Layla doesn't want that smoke, really. This is all just talk. I think that's great. That's like Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. It's like that. It's like one of those fights where you know who's going to win. It's Claressa. But it'll make a lot of money. That's great. But usually those fights won't happen, I would argue.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I feel like this is just stuff that people talk about, and it shows there's not really much going on for Claressa over in boxing.
Not in comparison to we feel like she should have. Right? Like, you want her to have the opportunity.
Not should, but want. Like, what I want for her to have. I just don't know if it exists in women's boxing yet.
Right.
So, she's done more to pave the way for women's boxing. And Claressa said that she's not done with boxing. So she wants to, have a foot in both combat sports.
Well, she can only have a foot in one combat sport.
I don't
Because of the kicking. In MMA, you can't kick in boxing. I mean, you can, but you'll immediately be disqualified.
All right. Let's talk about that. My opinion, as somebody who has no experience in combat sports, boxing, or MMA, is that she can't do both. I think...
You mean that she can't do both at the highest level? She can't. Everybody does both.
Everybody can do both. I can do both. Yeah, she can't do both at the highest level or compete at the highest level or win at the highest level. And the reason I feel strong about this is twofold. First.
Seeing
Conor McGregor get in the ring against Floyd Mayweather. He came in with a stance and a alienish that I was like, that at the time I hadn't watched MMA, so I was like, what is this? I, as a boxing fan, had never seen such. Then, now that I've watched MMA, I'm like, oh, that's why he came in with these weird striking, movements
that's his brain
and stuff.
Is trained for that.
Right, because when you're in the ring, you can't really, things don't always go as you planned. And you just kind of got to do. And that brings me to my second point, which is when I've talked about I haven't read that many boxing books. So I will again reference Andy Lee's book.
The best boxing book you can buy.
Apparently.
Friend of the show, Andy Lee.
But in Andy Lee's book, he talked about when he changed camps. Like, he didn't change sports. He changed who he was being trained by and how they had to strip him down so that he could be built back up so that he would in the ring just do, because you can't be sitting there being like, okay, now I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because guess what? Your opponent is trying to hurt you and is coming at you fast. You
definitely don't have time to think. Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. What Conor was doing was going from MMA to boxing. To go from boxing to MMA, it is possible, I think, more easily possible.
But she's going to have to go back and forth.
She's going to have to change her... She's probably going to want to change her style a little bit to where she doesn't instinctively duck her head so she doesn't run into kicks. But I think, if you saw Holly Holm, if Holly Holm did come back and fight a boxing match, I think that she could fight at a high level.
I feel like when I see MMA, because I think that your body's more... it almost seems more open. And when I think about boxing, I think very closed and tight. And MMA, it's like you kind of have two opponents who are moving around each other, and because you have the kicks and you have the punches and all this stuff, the wrestling, there's just all this stuff. They seem more open, and just in boxing, it seems like... But we were talking about this earlier when we were walking our dog Luke. Perhaps sure, there are people out there that can do things at the highest level and different things at the highest level.
Well, maybe she's the one that does it. You know what I mean?
So, I am totally happy to be completely wrong about this, because I would love to see, that's more for me, right? That's more Claressa Shields for me if she's in boxing and MMA. So I'm all for that. I just expressed my concerns over that.
Well, it's a fair question. That's why it's such a big thing. That's why when I heard the news, I was like, oh, that's about it. Claressa's about that life. Claressa's legit. Claressa isn't just talk noise. She does things, right? She does stuff. And this is it wouldn't be as amazing a thing to try if it wasn't incredibly challenging.
Right.
She's already the type of person who was able to win 2 Olympic gold medals. That's a thing that most people can't do. So maybe she can do this too. Yeah. If she did, she really would be the G-Woat, baby. Woat. Is it Woat or G-Woat? I don't know. But you could just take that. I kind
of like G-Woat.
G-Woat.
She might need to take a little bit of a break and go all in on MMA for a little bit.
Well, hopefully, I think...
There's a ton to learn in MMA,
the story makeup is that she's been training
She's already been, she hasn't been in the ring, right? For a little while. So
right.
So she's been doing MMA all this time. Then I am excited for Claressa. I'm excited to see where this goes, how it plays out, and I can't wait to see her in the octagon. Is it called an octagon across all MMA outlets, or is that just UFC?
Patent pending, Rachel. UFC's octagon. And in fact, in Bellator, which has nothing to do with Claressa. Maybe a future destination place. It's like a circle. Anyway, no, it's the cage. It's inside a cage.
Okay, so I should say cage if I wanted to represent just MMA.
Or you can say cage. That's
okay,
Italian.
that's not even a
It's not a word. It's also not a word.
Oh, goodness.